So I said, I suspect that maybe I might have ADHD. And he said, that's one of those trends at the moment, isn't it? And I'm like, what? Hi, BookTube. It's Zina, beating around the books. Today is going to be a little bit different. I'm doing a book video about ADHD. I'm not sure if there's going to be any books involved. So if you're not interested in books, if you're only interested in books, feel free to skip this one. However, this is about raising awareness about ADHD because it is ADHD Awareness Month in October. I think, like with so many other things, especially regarding mental health and neurodivergence, you know, it makes sense for more people to know more about this shit so they don't keep perpetuating the same nonsense. Obviously, this is not going to be some sort of exhaustive or conclusive info video, because that is not what I want to do, nor am I the best qualified to do that. I've made some notes. I also overthought this for ages, which is why, you know, I've been mulling this over for way too long, which is why this is coming more towards the end of the month than to the beginning, okay? So I decided it's got to be off the cuff, because otherwise it's never happening. Incidentally, overthinking is also something a lot of ADHDers do or tend towards, or impulsively doing stuff without thinking about the consequences, you know. We tend to like to go for the extremes, not so much for the middle ground. Anyway, so it's going to be rambly. You know I ramble generally. Please bear with me, because I'm trying not to mask. And like I said, I couldn't make it too planned out, because that wouldn't have felt true to me. And also, I think I would have just ended up questioning everything far too long. So a bit of personal stuff about diagnosis. Why the hell I even went for this. Was it a smooth ride or not to get one? You know, spoiler warning, no, it was not smooth. What are some myths or things that people say that are quite hurtful? And even if they're not very hurtful, they're certainly very unhelpful. So maybe, you know, if you don't have ADHD and you have somebody in your life who may have that, maybe that could be helpful for you to, like, try and stop doing that. A few stereotypes, sensory overload or sensory processing issues, and I asked a few other ADHDers about what is the most important thing that you would like the people in your life to know about this, that most of them don't. So let's start. Diagnosis. Why the hell did I even seek one? Like so many other people who seem to be looking or seeking a diagnosis later in life, I mean, I say later in life, I know I'm young, but you know what I mean, as an adult, nowadays, in the last few years maybe, I found more and more content online, like tweets and you know, wonderful comic or cartoons by ADHDers, you know, artists who are ADHDers, and so on and so forth, like you know, relaying certain experiences and difficulties that I really empathized with, and these were largely from women with ADHD, and for a long time my immediate response was, I don't have ADHD, but I really relate to this. This is like me. Oh my God, this is like, you know, nail and head and la la la, right? Until at some point, relating to this stuff, you know, it had reached critical mass for me to kind of shift and go, maybe there's something to this. Plus, I'd obviously then seen a lot of women specifically speak out about the fact that so many women are, you know, women are underdiagnosed generally, and that it gets missed a lot more, which made it all the more sort of interesting or seemed more valid to really, you know, kind of have reason to look into it at least. Okay, so that's why. Was it smooth to get one? No, it fucking wasn't. This is where we start with, obviously, there's an issue with access. That is different in all sorts of places, of course, but I would assume it's generally not really easy, right? It's not simple, especially if you can't pay out of pocket. That is probably an issue in plenty of places. Then there's a lot of sort of prevailing stigma around it. That may make it even more difficult to get a diagnosis, to be taken seriously, even by, of course, your fucking health professionals, like medical and mental health professionals, because, you know, what do you know? They don't keep up with newer research either. You know, for the longest time, people thought it was just a children's thing. Then a lot of people thought it was kind of only boys. And, you know, to this day, plenty of people still have that image in their heads. And even if they've got a slightly more knowledge, they still tend to be underinformed, I would say. So I've started rambling again, and I've gone off the fucking track, right? Oh, I've gone off track again. Why was this hard? Okay, so first of all, it's really difficult to find anybody who will diagnose adults here in Germany, because we are very behind the times, unfortunately. There are some places. They are, of course, incredibly overrun, inundated with people who are on waiting lists forever and ever. On top of that, a lot of these clinics, or, you know, specialists, are incredibly exclusionary. Is that a word, or do you say just exclusive? So that's in terms of what kind of requirements they have, for, you know, that you have to check before you even get put on a wait list. All of which was basically precluding me from getting on any of these waiting lists. Hey, sorry, that was the doorbell. The horrible, horrible door buzz, really. And I got warm. I know this sounds weird because this seems warmer, but this is unimportant, you know. Stop talking. Anyway. Okay, so it was not easy. However, before we even get to any clinics, and this will be, you know, I guess an example in what not to say to somebody who trusts you with, you know, a tidbit about either what they've been diagnosed with or what they suspect they may have. At the time when I first got these kinds of suspicions that maybe I should be tested, I was seeing the counselor of my university. Seeing meaning is not like therapy. They don't have enough time to like see you that regularly. However, that was the easiest or quickest way of me obtaining any kind of help in terms of mental health, because it's also really hard to just find a regular therapist here, right? It's not just the ADHD thing. I mean, that's even worse, you know, but if you, again, are not rich. So I went there because I was very, very desperate about, I guess, what I thought of being self-sabotaging habits, you know, sort of really horrible perfectionism. We are not talking perfectionism is my only fucking weakness in, you know, in an interview situation. It is a fucking weakness, actually. Perfectionism, like a huge sort of self-doubt and fear of failure, and I couldn't get things done, and I'd already been spending so much time on this stupid, you know, course, and, you know, much longer than you should, and I was very desperate, I guess, and I was really afraid that I was going to sort of follow in the same pattern again, because this is not the first thing I've studied, you know, but the other ones I always dropped out before the end, and it was never because I was bad at it, you know. That's the sad part. Anyway, so that's not great for your self-worth, you know, that kind of trajectory. I had been going to this person, and he had been giving me a lot of tips and sort of trying to give me strategies of how to get into working, la la la. And none of it worked. I tried, and none of it really worked. Basically, he was like a broken record. And I increasingly got very annoyed about it, because I was like, you know, basically the message that you're sending me is that you believe that I'm not trying hard enough. The reason why this isn't working is because you're only giving me tips that, you know, you're only giving me neurotypical advice here. And I am really struggling to find any of this helpful. And the problem was, no, wait, let me finish. Let me start this again. The major bit was then, it's like, I have been told, and like every ADHD has been told countless fucking times, to just try harder. Which is incredibly hurtful, because we are very often trying really fucking hard, and it's just not being seen because we struggle more. And sometimes, you know, sometimes or often the outcome doesn't match the intention or the effort that's been put in to try hard, you know. Yeah, things not to tell people that trust you with their suspicions. You know, first of all, these people may have really fucking taken a lot of courage to even do this, so maybe don't dismiss them immediately. So I said, I suspect that maybe I might have ADHD. And he said, that's one of those trends at the moment, isn't it? It's not that I would have never ever expected a response like that from, you know, a random person, but if you are a therapist, come on, do better. On top of this, then he backpedaled like a tiny bit, and then he said, well, I mean, I'm not saying that you don't, or you do or you don't, you know, I'm no expert on this, but what would even be the point or the benefit of you getting a diagnosis or seeking one? It's not as if there's any medication available for adults for ADHD in Germany. Wrong. So basically, he either told me a lie, or he was so fucking ignorant of the fact that he just, you know, accidentally disseminated wrong information, which is not much better than lying. So, you know, this is Googleable. Sorry, is that a shit word? Yeah, you can look this up. You would need to type this in, and it takes 5 seconds to find the information that there are, in fact, several types of medication available for adults with ADHD, some of which are stimulants and some of which aren't. Yes, we have a lot fewer options here than in other countries, and one of them, you know, has only been licensed for use in adults since, I don't know, 2016 or something like that, or 2014, something along those lines, you know, less than 10 years. Yeah. I was like, come on, you've had years to know, even if you don't specialize in this. I cannot believe that you would do this in your position. Like, if you are a student's counselor, you know, chances are high that you're gonna get a few people with ADHD, whether they've been diagnosed yet or not, but especially those that aren't, because often what happens if you've not been, you know, diagnosed when you were younger, things start falling apart often when you have got a huge life change. Structures fall away when you go to uni, you know, you're on your own, maybe you've moved elsewhere, and all of a sudden things are too much and you can't handle it. So, you know, chances are high he's got these people, and he just tells you bullshit. It's ridiculous. And it was really deflating and discouraging. And I mean, I could obviously find out the information about the medication really easily. However, what it also made me feel like is that, okay, even the fucking therapist believes that I'm just looking for a fucking excuse for being a failure and lazy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? I like chilling out and not working as much as the next one, but I'm not lazy. I'm not lazy. Like, wow, okay, you know. So that's not helpful. And it took the wind from under my wings. I was completely stalled for months. For months I didn't pursue this then as a consequence. So, you know, not cool. I did not speak to him after that though. So basically I stopped getting any kind of counseling because, I mean, it was useless, right? It wasn't helpful. And I was kind of quite angry about it, you know. This is, I guess, that other myth then, that this is a trend. Now I understand why people might get that kind of impression. However, again, he's not people, he's a fucking mental health person, you know. But it makes sense why you would get that impression if you're not really if you're not plugged into this, because the fact of the matter is, of course, there's a lot more stuff out there now. There's a lot more people, you know, there are people on Twitter and on TikTok, and people writing blog posts, making videos about this, and, you know, people coming out of the woodwork going, oh yeah, I've also been recently diagnosed as an adult, blah blah blah, so many things make so much sense now. Now, is it fucking trendy though? I mean, fuck me, that would be a really shitty trend to try and follow, because it's not fucking fun. I mean, it was helpful to get this diagnosis because it changed a few things in my perspective about, you know, myself. It doesn't just undo years of negative messages you've got over, you know, about yourself, and negative self-talk that you've kind of developed, but it does help recontextualize stuff, sure. But is it something that people just want as a label? What do they fucking get from that? That is ridiculous. And I mean, if it's about medication, let me tell you, there's fucking easier ways to get high. And this is not even high. It's like, what? I've accidentally taken too much once. Not taken too much, but whatever. It is not pleasant. Let's put it that way. It's not something I would seek. Okay. So the reason why this is more out here and more people are getting diagnosed is because there's more information out there for people to find, for people to, you know, to persist when they meet with, you know, the dismissal that I've just exemplified by talking about this one therapist. And it's, you know, that's just one, there's plenty of others like that. And on top of it, we've just come, well, I'm saying we've come out of a pandemic. We might be, you know, sliding right into the next wave. But anyway, there was a pandemic. People were in lockdown, meaning lots of structures, again, fell away from a lot of people. Not only the structures that they may have already built up that worked, but on top of it, you had, you know, children being made to stay home while you're still expected to do work. All of a sudden, you're like, you know, all in each other's space all the fucking time because nobody's leaving the house anymore. All of these things are additional stressors that may have driven people to, you know, being too overwhelmed to the point where they're going, shit, I need to seek help. Therefore, you know, finding that out. Or also in some people it may have, you know, increased executive function issues that have nothing to do with ADHD, but with other mental health problems. And, you know, it may present as, you know, in a very similar way. Therefore, you'll also hear more people talking about this. You know, I'm not saying that every single person who has the suspicion has it. But, you know, there's plenty of reasons why there should be more diagnoses and more people talking about this out there. And they are not that people are faking it. You know, that is just the most ungenerous interpretation possible. I'm not going to bore you with I got the diagnosis. It was not easy. I had the first time suspicion probably, around the time I started my channel, beginning of 2021. And, you know, I've just told you when I got diagnosed, in December. And I was lucky. I didn't have to wait that long. So first of all, like I said, months went by without me doing something. Then I went full on, like, okay, I'm going to try again. Then I got another dismissal of a psychiatrist who thought it was depression and anxiety without even trying to do the test, who instead rather wanted to just prescribe me stuff without, like, what was that the test? Like, oh, well, if you get better from the antidepressants, then it clearly wasn't. Like, well, first of all, that's another thing, right? So women get far more likely to be misdiagnosed with anxiety and or depression instead of ADHD, whereas men, well, first of all, boys get diagnosed more often than girls anyway, like way more often in childhood. But when they are adults, apparently, they also get taken seriously much more often by their medical professionals when they actually seek a diagnosis. Wonder why that is. You know, let's not even get started on issues of race and, you know, like bias in that regard in the medical field. So that's obviously another thing. I know I'm going off on tangents again. I'm so sorry. But like I said, it's a rambly one. I forgot what the point of this was. This is another thing. So she insinuated that apparently I was after, you know, ADHD meds because they are a controlled substance. And that was the main reason why she wanted to give me antidepressants. I'm like, excuse me. I mean, now I'm thinking, that's like, so first of all, what are you insinuating here? And second of all, that's like saying, well, the treatment for X is, you know, for, I don't know, for your pain is so-and-so. But, you know, because normally we need to give you opioids to treat that kind of level of pain, I'm just going to assume you've not got the pain and you've got something different. And therefore, I'm going to give you something else that, you know, radically alters your brain chemistry. What the fuck? Like, what is wrong with people? Like, I didn't ask to be prescribed ADHD meds off the bat. I wanted to get tested. This is, so I find it so cynical that people would go on about the medication and the dangers of that when untreated ADHD has such an increased risk of addiction, you know, comes with that. Whereas well-managed medicated ADHD is usually a much lower thing there, you know, like what? Rant. Sorry, I'm just angry about these things because it took so long and there was such a huge like roller coaster of, you know, taking this and then that and then having things, you know, get more messed up or, you know, my sleep going completely to shit, you know, and whatever. I'm sorry. Okay. So I finally got it. And it was such a relief to first of all, go to this appointment the first time around. I didn't get diagnosed at the first appointment because they are quite thorough, you know, contrary to popular belief. But just to talk to this person who is knowledgeable about adults, ADHD, what it looks like, how it presents especially in people who've had it for so long without, you know, going undiagnosed, and what it leads to, you know, late diagnosis, what consequences it can have, and just be taken seriously, and somebody who's not making light of your experience. And oh my God, seriously, I can't even, it's ridiculous that this is, you know, that this feels like such a, like that was such a novelty to have someone take you seriously and validate what you are struggling with, you know, when you're seeking medical help. That is sad. And I know that other people who, you know, where it's not about ADHD, chronic pain patients, you know, experience this all the time as well, that just they're not being taken seriously. Anyway, that's just a sad state of affairs, and I'm ranting again and I'm digressing again. Hi, this is future Zina, while, you know, contemplating about what I've just done. I've talked far too long on this in my videos. I'm not sure if I'll be able to cut this down enough. So if you see this, I'm just announcing that this will be a video in 2 parts, or maybe more. Who knows? All right, that's it. Back to Pasadena again. Right, this is much harder than talking about books, guys. Seriously. Okay, so like I said, this is not going to become the next ADHD channel. I'm not trying to compete with those people. In fact, I will link some that I found helpful. However, what I will want to do is make at least 1 more video, hopefully during this month still. We'll see. And that will focus on books and other resources that I have found helpful or think might be helpful for others, both ADHDers and maybe also the interested non-ADHDer, or people who are otherwise, you know, like are either suspecting that they or a friend or whatever family member may be, you know, may have maybe neurodivergent. So that is also coming. And my request for you would be, A, if you have any resources you find really helpful, please pop them in the comments. If you have specific questions, not that I'm the expert, but if you have questions for some, I don't know, some specific issue or something that you're looking for information on, or, you know, also feel free to pop them in the comments, or contact me on Voxer if you feel more comfortable that way. And if I can think of anything helpful in that regard, I will certainly include it. So, you know, go ahead and, yeah, feel free to ask ahead or ask away. And I will see if I can help with any of those things. Okay, this was difficult. I hope you can all be kind, and yeah, I would love for conversation to be started in the comments about this. I would just ask you to refrain from you know, gaslighting people with this sort of thing. Like, don't give me this whole this does not exist and all that kind of stuff, okay? That would be cool. Not that I actually expect that from people who watch my channel, but who knows? You never know. And also, there might be others who only come here through this video. So yeah, basically that won't be tolerated and I shall delete it. Right? Cool. Okay. Sorry, this was really hard. Yeah. Have a lovely day, evening, weekend, whatever. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Tangents. Story of my life.